Hey, what's up everybody? Bdf 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so your boy is not 100%. A little under the weather, man. I had 2 days ago I left the air conditioning on while I slept, and it was pointed at me. I usually try to point it in a different direction, but the way that this room has it set up is that it's like directly in front of the bed across from the room. So, you know, it was one of those situations where I felt a little congested yesterday, but this morning and last night was a little worse. So yeah, man, I'm trying to just walk that off. I thought about going all the way to Hollywood, but of course, you know, it's Sunday, so I did not want to necessarily make that trip and go all the way over there and do all the extra stuff. But I do need to go to somebody's Target to grab a few things that'll help with my my meal. So I figured I'd just do a little local Target walk, and then just make my way back up here. Probably get a nap before a Bible study at 4:30. But I figured, you know what, the walk, whatever walk I take, whether it be the long walk all the way to Hollywood and do all that extras, or a short walk here, I thought some air would do some good for me. So that's what I'm attempting to get. But yeah, man, I knew eating bad was gonna have reverberating negative effects upon me. just a couple bad meals, as I've been telling you guys. That's all it takes with the dietary issues that I've had and just aging in general. I'd imagine it don't take much, especially when I'm so disciplined in how I eat. You know, it becomes a situation where you become more sensitive to poor foods when you eat nothing but vegetables and oatmeal and fruits and stuff like that all the time. You know, it's a gift and a curse when you decide to eat poorly. Now, if you eat what I consider poorly all the time, it don't have negative effects upon your body in the short term. In the long term, it does, and of course you gain weight and stuff like that, but you're not going to feel sick for eating like that. But when you cleanse your body of bad foods for a given period of time, and you step back into the bad stuff for a couple of days or whatever, it will literally make you sick, and it'll mess with your immune system too, to weaken your immune system. So I think this is what has happened here. Several things have gone wrong as it pertains to eating poorly, and then it just messing with my immune system and my dietary. My stomach issues have gotten a little bad over the last couple of days because of it. So lesson learned, man. I had my diet under control, and cheat meals at this point in my life are just not acceptable anymore. I'm allergic to too much. People in America cook with too many things that I'm allergic with naturally, so no matter what you get on any menu of any restaurant, I'm gonna have trouble with it, it seems. So I knew better. I don't have any regrets, but I'm definitely paying for it. But it hasn't stopped me from doing my thing. Of course, I do my morning workouts and night workouts and all that stuff. 2 days in a row of hundreds of blue, so I've been able to get my squat regimen in, and all the different things that I do is still getting done. And yeah, man, other than that, my spirits are pretty high, man. I felt a little off balance because of this congestion or whatever. A little fatigued, you know, feel like sleeping in today, but my meal was gonna need what I'm about to purchase, so it wasn't about to be a day where I get to stay in the house and rejuvenate my energy. Plus, I didn't sleep that well last night, to be honest with you. Had somebody outside my window playing music very loud at like 3 in the morning from their car. I don't know what was going on, but I was in and out of sleep. You know, it was that kind of thing. And I didn't really get to sleep straight through. Every time they change a song, it would wake me up. And yeah, that was not fun. That was not the greatest night of sleep at all. Plus, on top of that, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I went to sleep at like 8 o'clock and woke up at like probably like 12, and then watched a YouTube video from a lady who was breaking down the history of Israel. And she wasn't really breaking down the history of Israel. She was actually deriving her thesis from the point of view of how Israel began, stemming and leading into the creation of Israel from the Holocaust. And so her focus was actually more so about people who were survivors of the Holocaust, who ultimately took an anti-Zionist approach to the starting of Israel, and how their stories had been suppressed from the Israeli people to further the propaganda that would allow for them to steal the land. Essentially, these individuals who had survived the Holocaust did a great deal to try to deter from the stealing of the Palestinian land. And so that's kind of what her thesis and her studies was kind of centered around, is a couple of those people's stories and how they had been suppressed from the Israeli people to further the propaganda that allow for the stealing of land. You know, she got into a little bit about Albert Einstein and his approach to the situation. He essentially wrote a thesis saying that there was no way he was going to support them stealing the land. If they wanted to do a diplomatic approach, he thought that would be the smartest way to go. But as far as literally stealing the land, he thought that would be catastrophic for the Zionist people. So Einstein was a Zionist who was too against the stealing of the Palestinian land. He believed in a Jewish state, but not as it pertains to them exiling natives from a land. And so I thought that was a really interesting point of view, and to have seen her read his words was I thought was pretty powerful, to be honest with you. And it just gave us, you know, I walk away from her point of view feeling as if somehow, although I couldn't necessarily tie it together based on what I listened to in regards to her, but somehow the Holocaust as we know it was either something that was I ain't gonna say a natural occurrence, but in the context of what I'm saying, either it was something that happened as we understood it to be, and then from there the opportunity to use it and its trauma upon the Jewish people, the European Jews who had went through that. It was either an opportunity created based on that occurrence that allowed for them to further the intention to occupy Palestine and exile the millions of how many people it was in Palestine, or it was a false flag, or it was a false flag operation done by the surrounding supporters of occupying Palestine for a Jewish state. And like 9/11, like October 7th, like many others, were excuses to further the Zionist agenda in whatever direction, to gain the support. Based on her thesis and what it is that I listened to in regards to what she presented to the table, I do think that there's a chance that was a false flag. There's a chance. Not saying I'm certain of that. Not sure how it was done. I'm not saying that it was Zionist people who killed European Jews in the Holocaust, but I do think that there's a chance, if you put two and two together, that you will find maybe the UK was funding the Nazis, the Americans were funding the Nazis on behalf of the intention to further the mission to steal the Holy Land from the native people of that land. And this was going to drive European Jews who had went through that trauma into supporting these factions in taking this land from those people, because otherwise it wouldn't, the Zionist people would not have been as driven to forcefully take that particular land or any land if not for the trauma that they had experienced in the Holocaust. And if you look at the imprint of the different ways that the Zionists have gained support for different things that they wanted to do, it always came at the expense of a lot of innocent people. Always. As we said, 9/11, same type of thing. Kill a bunch of people to make the rest of them feel like it's intentional to do something that probably they wouldn't support otherwise. October 7th, same thing. Kill a bunch of people to furtherance the support of something that probably people wouldn't support otherwise. To make them unequivocally aligned with doing something that otherwise would be considered terrible if not for the trauma presented by the circumstance. This is a play. It's a play. And I'm telling you, I'm seeing the pattern. The Holocaust is in that pattern. It's within that pattern. It aligns with the same way of doing things that ultimately falls in line with the Hannibal Directive, sacrificing their own to gain support of their own in the furtherance of whatever they're going to do that wouldn't otherwise have support. It falls in line, people. That's what I'm here to tell you. This is another version of that same play. And so when you look at it that way, you have to wonder if there are not some answers, or if there's not some ties that we're not seeing that created that, literally created that occurrence, that awful occurrence, from the different characters in play that wanted to move in on Palestine. Because what you had was the Holocaust taking place at what, 1946, and then you had the occupation of Palestine taking place in 1948. I mean, they're in succession with one another. And as we start seeing the different things that have been done, you say, well, dang, isn't that the same play? Is that not? Or did they just, because that worked so well as an opportunity, did they develop it as a play going forward? That I really don't know. I'm not here to tell you that I have any idea. Sometimes you see something work and you're like, okay, we need to create it again. We need to create that opportunity again. That could very well be what it is. But just the same, it is without any doubt that the opportunity arose for them to garner unwavering support by way of the Holocaust. Unwavering support. And as we know, there's been rumors that as much as the Austrian painter hated Jewish people, that he was in fact half Jewish. There's rumors. I ain't gonna say in fact, because that doesn't speak clearly to my understanding, but it's been said that one of his parents was Jewish. And there's a lot of things about that situation that shows me, like October 7th, a lot of the people who are in lockstep with Zionism and all of this, they were not in on this. They were losing people. That's real pain they feeling when they lost their people. That's real pain that was exploited in these occurrences. And so I don't think that, just like I don't think Israeli people are aware of everything that there was going on with October 7th. I think a lot of them think it is as their government said it was, and they lost people. I don't think their pain is fake, or that they offered their people up to slaughter. I think people above their heads often offered other people up to slaughter and blamed it on someone else. And although I don't have enough evidence to say the same about the Holocaust, I do see it as an application of opportunity that was just fell into the hands of those who were trying to occupy a Jewish land for Jewish people. And what better way to garner support for such a thing than making displaced people go through something so horrific in nature? The lady who I watched, I think her name is Kate something, I'm not sure her name. It's like C, and then she puts the number 8 and then something else and then the number 8. I forget. I wish I came more prepared. I just barely discovered her last night and watched one of her videos. Really cool chick from the East Coast, from North Carolina. She does a lot of cursing, so I wouldn't tell you to watch her stuff around your kids, but the information is undeniable, and she makes it easily digestible in the way that she presents it, which is something I think is a wonderful trait, especially when talking about history and things like this. And so her point of view, as I got off track, was to present to us more about the Jewish position on the Holocaust as it pertains to those individuals who went through it. She painted a picture for us to understand what the Jewish people went through, and her point was to try to show us how people who went through this ultimately turned around and could do it to someone else in 2025 or 2023 through 2025, as we're currently in this 2 years of genocide. How could someone who had this happen to them turn around and do it to someone else, was essentially the question she was posing as she presented her information. And this is what she showed us, that it was in fact that trauma that made them so distraught and out of their damn minds, so to speak, that they just felt like, yo, beyond any means, based on our trauma and our horrific experiences, we must secure ourselves a state. We must secure ourselves something that's just for us, because look what just happened to us. And when you're in trauma, you're not going to be rational in your defensive mechanisms. Just like we often talk about the swimming, when someone's trying to save you when you're drowning, and you end up pushing them underwater trying to save yourself, using them as a buoyancy type of mechanism, and in turn drowning them, but you don't tend to drown anybody. It's just what comes of fear when you're in that situation a lot of time. It's kind of the same thing. When you go through something as traumatic as what they went through, you don't really care how you secure your safety. You're so traumatized by what just happened to you that you're just going to secure it at whatever it costs. And that's kind of what they were exploiting. That's the opportunity that arises from that horrific occurrence, as I've already described. So that was her point of view. And I thought she painted a very strong picture and once again humanized those who experienced that. And it showed us how in the dark they may have been as it pertains to forming their opinions about stealing the land from the Palestinian people. I thought that was very important, because in the presence of all of this, it's been lost. The information is a bit lost as to how this happened, what type of experiences the people who are now engaging in genocide ultimately went through. And that's what's kind of gotten lost in a lot of this. They've been dehumanized in the presence of all the propaganda and all of the different gaslighting and all of that we've seen from them. To this point, it's just like, we don't even think about that they went through this, and it's questioned that even occurred and all of this. I think her history lesson, so to speak, kind of brought us back to a place where we can understand, okay, yeah, they went through this, and they are in fact turning around and doing the same thing to someone else. How did we get here? So I thought that was an extremely important bit of content to have watched. I was watching it between like 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. last night, and I just formed the opinion that this is a play we have seen before, or it was the beginning of when they realized this was a play to repeat again. And it's wicked stuff, man. At the end of the day, she talked a lot about their religion, Judaism, and getting into the origin of Judaism, how it started, you know, speaking on the Torah and the 5 books and things like that, and speaking on Christianity and its and then the derivement, if that's a word, of anti-Semitism through Christianity, and just where that is actually coming from, or whatever the case may be. There was just a lot of information there that kind of gave me some context and some to help me better form an opinion about what it is I've been looking at for the last 2 years. So yeah, shout out to Kate, man. I'm gonna continue to check her out on Instagram. Kate the Great, I believe it is. I'm not sure. I'll follow her, and if I remember to, I will try to get back to you and tell you exactly where to find her information if you're interested. I sent it to B, my homegirl. I doubt she'll watch it. She hasn't really been open to learning about Israel. She's written me off as anti-Semite, but she continues to support Israel despite my testimony toward her in regards to what it is I've seen. And you know, I did a little, you know, it was one of those things where I was following the voice of God telling me to send her that video. There was some things in there that I don't think she'd be interested in, but there are some things in there that will help her understand, at the very least, and help all of us understand that the Israel that we understand to be today was founded in 1948. They were not founded in the biblical days. It's an entirely different Israel. In fact, Israel was a person, if I'm not mistaken. not a place in the biblical days. They were a people, not a place, and definitely not these people. These individuals are individuals who are European Jews who have occupied the Palestinian land and in hopes of securing the land for themselves and their people and their religion all over the world. They want to expel others from that land and make it an only Jewish land, except for it's not their land. And Zionism is the art, so to speak, of that ideology. It's the word that labels that ideology. Zionism is the belief that Jewish people should have their own state apart from everybody else. Not derived necessarily from the Holocaust, but the Holocaust is what further drove that ideology into reality, it seems. So yeah, man, this was very important for me. It filled in a couple of blanks, and you know, at the end of the day, if we're going to be a state, or country rather, United States, that believes that we were making mistakes when we were doing what we were doing in the previous eras before civil rights and all of that, if we are to believe that we were making mistakes when we had white-only bathrooms and black-only water fountains, then we can't, by way of what it is that we believe we have learned morally, continue to support a state that in its pure existence is meant to do that very thing. Separate people, expel people, and ultimately prioritize people based on their religion and their creed or what have you. I would say skin color, but obviously it's not that simple. But you can't tell me that we made mistakes in the 60s here, but we're going to watch them make those same mistakes and going to support them unequivocally. The logic falls apart, and it ultimately sends us back into a space from which we've healed and overcome a lot of our social issues. And if we're going to go down that path, we will revisit some of those issues. It will back us into the logic where we need to go back to spaces for which we fought so hard to come out of as an American. And so we need to understand that that's the hypocrisy that we are asked to not understand or not pay attention to. And it's gonna undo a lot of good here, and it's gonna undo a lot of good around the world. So that's my point of view, man. I don't particularly know what the solution is for the Jewish people, so to speak. But you would be welcome where you're humble. That's what I'll tell anybody. If you don't have a home, you're not going to find a home by stealing homes from someone else. All you're going to do is make it so that others who are onlookers who are watching you do that, are going to shun you anywhere you travel. That's what they're starting to understand at this point. You can't just say, okay, I don't have a home, so I'm going to take somebody else's. You got to do it in a diplomatic way. It's not the world's fault that you don't have a home, nor is it the world's responsibility to move out of their home to give you one. And that they've adapted this ideology and expect all of us to go along with it just speaks to a depravity of the mind and ultimately an entitlement that is out of control. And that we don't have people in place who can be the adult in the room, so to speak, try to hold these grown people and hold these people accountable for their childish and selfish intentions is why we've gotten to this place where we're watching genocide in our phones. It's the world's responsibility to hold itself accountable at the end of the day. And we got people who are out of control, thinking they're better than everybody else, believing that they have a right to hurt other people to protect themselves, innocent or otherwise. That is out of control, and we need to do something about that, regardless of what trauma they went through or what have you. As I've said many times, just because my people went through slavery, or just because my people went through having their land stolen, as it pertains to my Native American roots, does not give me carte blanche as one of their descendants to just go around hurting people because of my trauma. It doesn't give me the right to effectively take me and my friends and start going into people's houses and taking from them what ultimately they found in solidarity and through hard work. Yes, should there be some acknowledgement of the pain of my ancestors? Sure. But does their pain give me the carte blanche to inflict pain upon other people? No, it does not. And that's essentially what we need to tell those who are doing that in the Middle East. You don't have a right to hurt people just because you are hurt people. You need to get help for yourself, just like you would tell an individual for getting help for whatever they do. You know, we talk about how evil is converted a lot of times, and when trauma hits, when someone's what's the word? I don't know how to use the word without being wrong here, but when someone goes through something unequivocally horrible as a child, a lot of times those same people grow up to be the same monsters that hurt children. In this case, I don't see much different in that regard. When you went through something as horrible as the Holocaust, only to turn around and commit a genocide, at some point in time, we got to say, you're just passing forward the same pain that went your way, that went against you, rather. The same pain that came your way, the same demon that ultimately hurt you, you've now effectively allowed to convert you into itself. And as we often talk about from a spiritual standpoint, there's accountability for those who are harmed to not pass forward that harm. And if we allow ourselves to give passes to those who are doing it in this regard, where does that begin and where does that end? And that takes us down a path that is bad, very bad for human beings and for nations alike. So that's really what it is, man. It just comes down to responsibility and accountability for one's own actions, separate from the traumas and the harms that have come your way, and helping the community of people who've been harmed toward healthy behaviors after being harmed. If we talk about the presence of being indifferent and the dystopian position that is taken when we watch people go through genocide and nothing happens, it gives birth to the idea that people who are harmed should essentially do whatever, however, to protect themselves, because what's the use? They're in an environment that's not looking to help them heal, so they have to heal on their own. And this is also a byproduct of that type of thing too. When you allow people around you to suffer, when they come to the conclusion that they're going to take their fate in their own hands, if they step on everyone around them, at the end of the day, there's an accountability factor to everyone around them for not coming to their aid, listening to their pain, and ultimately contributing unselfishly to their healing. And that's part of the problem. You know, people didn't really care. People didn't want to open the door to let them people in after they went through that. So they took it. You know, a lot of times hurt people in this regard. Somebody took something from me, I look around, I don't see no support. Well, it's time for me to go ahead and take. You know, and that's what tumbles forward to a lot of what it is we're seeing here. And as we continue to engage in that, you give birth to environments where people become so traumatically selfish, if that's a way of phrasing it, to where their trauma makes them so selfish and evil that they don't care to be kind to the world around them. They don't believe in a world where being fair exists, because no fairness was not shown toward them during their time of need. So this is the important of all of us learning that lesson as well. Take accountability for how genocide is manifested in the hearts of the traumatized and neglected. So that's something that I think is, listening to her also provided me some perspective to develop that opinion. You know what I mean? Without indifference, you often don't find deep wickedness in the heart of those who are hurt, man. It's hard to stay in a space where you don't care about nobody when everybody's showing you that when you need them or when they are around. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to look at the world like it's hopeless when you got people from all different directions coming to your aid when you need them the most. And when you don't have that, it's very easy to believe the world is hopeless. And so that's what gives birth to a lot of the selfishness and the desperation and the different measures that people take when they're desperate. It's from indifference of a world that will stay neutral to their pain. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, man, we all got work to do if we don't want to continue to give birth to these type of people, these type of actions, these type of spirits. We all have to be better, man. So that's really what I've learned. And so that's what it is, man. The Lord has opened the doors for me to study these things and to put me in the presence of individuals who've done a great deal of studying for us. And I'm happy to be alive in this era, because I'm not a big reader. I'm not someone who wants to do the homework, but I can listen to someone who's done the homework for me and learn from there. Lazy as it sounds, it's an effective way to teach a person like myself who doesn't study like that. So that's really what I can say, man. Shout out to Kate the Great, I believe her name is, and I want to look at more of her content. to get a little bit of that history going, man. You know, a lot of us, we've been depraved of the information based on us not getting higher education, based on history being taught by the winners, so to speak. We don't get them perspectives that come from those who may not have been victorious. And those perspectives have lessons in them. Those perspectives have data in them that is often neglected by those who don't want to seem as if they were weak in the presence of their victory, ironically enough. And, you know, it doesn't speak to some of the things that ultimately help us understand what other players were involved in various different things that we may have learned in regards to history. And so I think that's the blessing of being alive today, to where you can find people who've done homework on the things that are often hidden and get their entire thesis presented to you on YouTube. So it's a different way to learn, man. It's a different way to absorb information, and I encourage people to continue to go down these rabbit holes, because you do find more about history than what's taught to you in your school right now, just by going down a rabbit hole online. So yeah, man, that's really my take on things, man. Hope I didn't bore y'all with all of this, but it's just what I've been focused on these last 24 hours. Keep in mind that the flotilla, although they call it something else, I don't remember what they call it, but the latest flotilla mission, it's currently been intercepted by the IDF or whomever that is on behalf of Israel, to assure that they don't get to bring the aid that is necessary to help those people out there in Gaza. I saw footage of an individual who was on shore in Gaza saying he was awaiting their arrival and that they had yet to arrive. I saw footage from the boat itself, from each and every individual who wrote a pre-video stating that if this video was seen, then they would have already been intercepted and kidnapped, so to speak. So it's a dangerous situation at the very least, but I think I got a little more context as to why they actually went on this mission. It's not that it wasn't only to bring aid to Gaza. It was to prove that it's possible to send ships to Gaza, if not for the interception of Israeli individuals who ultimately don't want that aid to reach Gaza. Because essentially what they're saying, what Israel is telling everybody, is that it's not them keeping these ships from arriving to provide aid. That is in fact Hamas who's not providing aid to Gaza. What this flotilla mission's intention is doing is disproving that, to say, look, we're trying, we're able to, if not for being intercepted by them who are telling us all of that. So that was really their mission. They offered themselves up for sacrifice for the purpose of enlightening the public that Israel's lying about something else. They always are. So yeah, man, prayers out to those who have done this. Prayers out to those who are all around the world trying to get them their aid, man. I heard something that was just horrific in nature. Essentially, our country, America, had agreed to lock a bunch of food that is meant to save starving children in Gaza, although we're not really sure. But just in general, the aid that's supposed to be going there is supposed to be some type of biscuits. We're locked into some type of space away from where they could be delivered in order to expire. And at the point of them expiring by law, they are not able to then distribute the food because, of course, it's expired. So what they decided to do was lock it into a room until the date of its expiration, and then from there incinerate the food after it had expired. So that was something that our country did. And that food is supposed to be going directly to Gaza to feed these kids. Different biscuits, you know, the little like cracker biscuits. That's what we did, and it was a great deal of them. Obviously, you're talking about your government literally destroying food that's supposed to be feeding starving children during a genocide. So like this is stuff that was talked about yesterday, that I was able to lay eyes on them communicating and discussing this, and them being individuals, delegates who were on both sides of the circumstance. And it's unbelievable, but it's not when you consider all that we've already seen. So like, this is why we need to become more aware of what we're seeing here, using our voice and the platform to speak on what we're seeing here, and not being so afraid is to come to the aid of these people, man. Just because it may not be in our political interests to support them. At the end of the day, these are kids, man, starving. And you got literal governments burning food that is meant to save them. This is not a drill, okay? This is happening in real life. And so I just want people to understand, like, whoever follows me, we can talk about different things, and all of those things are interesting or important in their own little way, whatever, but I don't think there's anything more important in our current times than raising awareness for what is happening in Palestine. I don't think there's anything more important today. When you see the images of starving children like I've seen, and you understand that that is not just a happenstance of poverty, but literal forced starvation by way of depraving them of those foods, you got to understand that that's just something that's not only preventable, but this is something that's happening to them. You understand what I'm saying? This is something that people are deliberately doing to them consciously. And so, you know, the babies that I'm talking about are younger than the little man that you're hearing right there. Younger, smaller. You know what I mean? And they're depraving them of food, and they're dying of starvation by the thousands. Okay, by the thousands. You know what I'm saying? So that's really what I'm here to say, man. There's more to learn, but what is understood needs to be spread. We need to do a better job, y'all. We really do. And for those of us who don't care about this, or who think it's in their best interest to be quiet about this, if you saw what I saw, it may affect your opinion on that. If you've seen the images that are floating around about this, when you see the little ones that are really starving, maybe it would change your opinion. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a lot realer than a lot of those who are supporting it are actually paying attention to. And when you find out that you've been lied to about what it is that ultimately is going on there, then your support further potentially could wane. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of people believe that these folks have been taught to hurt people, and this is going to be something that continues, if not for the eradication of their people, only to find out that that is not true. That is not true. The truth is, they want to occupy this land so they can further build on it and further bring more settlers and more billionaires to it from which to do what billionaires do. You know what I mean? Build on the thing and make money off of it, turn it into a big Vegas or something. That's really what it's about. And what they'll likely do after they get the settlers there is push the settlers out when it makes sense to. They'll let them have it for a time and then gentrify those neighborhoods, push those settlers into other spaces, and then further billionaire the place. I'm telling you, I know that's because that's how corporations work. Settlers think that this is all about them, but trust me, man, you are as disposable as those people in Gaza. That's what I would tell any Israeli settler, bro. They'll push you away just like they'll push anybody else. They'll kill you off in a what do you call it? A false flag event to gain support for the furtherance of that state, just like they killed off so many of your people to do so. Just like they allowed so many of your people go to slaughter, doing stuff they had no business doing in the name of themselves. That was propaganda, man. You're not important. People are not important to these governments. People are not. Their intentions of furthering their expansion and development projects is the most important thing going on in the world today. So the last thing an individual needs to think is that the state is intentional on supporting them based on some text, some ancient text. That's not what's important. The past is not important to these people. The future and what they're trying to build, not only on this earth, but anywhere else they can build out in space, is what's most important to these people. And they'll let you think you're the most important thing in the world if it'll allow you to help support them in building what it is they're trying to build. And that's what Zionists need to understand. This is not about you being the most important people. Just like MAGA is not about making America great again for American people. No, it's about the furtherance of these projects that are long-lasting in nature, that are supposed to outlast us. We're going to be dead, and they're still going to be developing the things that ultimately we're supporting. We are discardable. This whole entire generation is discardable. Most of the stuff they're trying to do is going to take longer than we're expected to live to create. That's what y'all need to understand. So whatever it is you think they're doing for you, people are not the most important thing on this earth. And we're seeing how disposable people are when you consider how easily they're able to brush aside starving people and children and support genocide and act dystopian as if they don't even know what's happening. It's because people don't matter. And it ain't just those people that don't matter. Nobody matters. That's what you start to find. That it's not everybody, all lives. No, black, no, nobody. As it pertains to those 1%ers who are controlling all of this, their furtherance, their projects that they're trying to build is what's primary to the intentions of the ruling factions on this earth. It's not you. They'll gaslight you for a time just so that you'll support your own slaughter. And the sooner the world wakes up to that, the sooner they can do something about it. Otherwise, you're just going to be a victim to it, man. Literally. So that's what I want to tell people, man. Let's not stop. You know, we get into a world right now where everything's catered to us. We look online, everything's about us. It's custom for us. But that is a mind screw. Nothing is about you. Bdf 44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.